Welcome to Heaven on Earth, a sacred portal to visualizing, meditating, and co-creating our highest joys that usher in the golden age of Aquarius. I'm your host, Athena StarSeed. And we are here creating portals of possibility to usher in higher octaves of vibrational resonance, how we live, think, act, dream, and recreate our realities. I like to start with an opening invocation to set the sacred space, because I like to take the masters with me everywhere I go. So I would like to invite everybody to take a nice deep breath. Inhale and exhale. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men, let light return to earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May the Christ consciousness return to earth. In the center where the will of God is known, let the center guide the little wills of men, the center which the masters know and serve. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. May the plan of love, light, and power restore heaven on earth. Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Father Sky, and Mother Earth, from the point of light that connects us all, please be here in the sacred circle of light. Om, Om, Om. Well, good morning on this very happy Saturday. I'm extremely excited about today's guest. I have been having some encounters in the dream time with the White Brotherhood and the Melchizedek order, and that led me to start searching on the web for anybody who knew anything about these ancient mysteries. And I came across an author who is pretty much, she's a scribe and a medium and a clairvoyant and an author of 4 best-selling books, 13 online books, over 200 radio shows, 30 DVDs. She's like a walking Akashic record file. Her name is Tricia McCannon. Tricia, are you there? Welcome to Heaven on Earth.
I am indeed, and happy Labor Day to everybody today, and it's a pleasure to be with you, Athena.
Thank you so much. So as I was doing my research, trying to make sense of my own dream time, I came across your lectures on the hidden mystery schools and the ancient orders of the Viragi Masters and the White Brotherhood and the Divine Sophia, and I just was really blown away. I immediately bought your book, The Return of the Divine Sophia, Healing the Earth Through the Lost Wisdom Teachings of Jesus, Isis, and Mary Magdalene, and I was so blown away. I looked you up on the internet, and I asked you to do the show, and you were so gracious to say yes, and I'd just like you to give the audience a little background on how you actually, dipped into some of this spiritual wisdom. What was your first experience to start scribing down all the lost teachings of the of Isis and Sophia?
Wow, what a great question. Well, I think a lot of people, when I was growing up, I had all sorts of connections with the inner realms. Not only very, very lucid dreams where, one night I'd be, speaking with masters in the temples of golden wisdom. The next night I'd be in the bowels of the lower astral plane, and the next night I'd be on board, spaceships or just having normal, regular dreams. So I felt like I was kind of all over the place, but obviously very active and busy. And, a lot of us wake up to alarm clocks, or our dreams go right out the window, or we're on a very regimented schedule, and consequently we don't pay attention to our dreams. But I always did, because I always felt the presence of these invisible beings. And I think one of the reasons for that is because I grew up across from a great forest, and I spent a lot of time in nature. And nature, to me, is one of the great healers. It brings our brainwaves into balance and allows us to be receptive to, let us say, the invisible spiritual energies that are around us. And one of the things, of course, that's happening now is a lot of people are growing up in asphalt or in the suburbs with not a lot of nature, and so it makes it harder for that, and they get hooked just on technology at an early age, which, of course, has its own marvels, but it's not the same as the connection with the divine, and nature is definitely an expression of the divine. So, I began to see elementals in the forest when I was 7 or 8, and I don't these are the nature spirits that are like the guardian angels to the plant kingdom. And I think most humans don't see them, and so they were surprised that I could see them. They were kind of translucent, colored beings that took the shapes of the plants they were helping. And they went and told the overlighting angel of that forest that I was there. And so this male angel came and began to teach me when I was 8 years old about the chain of being and how the light and sound of God are vibrationally stepped down from the higher dimensions through the various dimensions to eventually, coagulate into what we think of as the density of matter and the form and shapes that we see around us that we, consider to be solid. But now, of course, physics knows that there's enormous space between the protons, the neutrons, the electrons, and that, 90% of all the atoms are actually space. But, we certainly experience it as a solid universe. And so that was kind of my beginning, and because of this, I did a lot of praying growing up that a spiritual teacher would arrive or someone wiser than me that could help me to begin to connect the dots and understand why, one night I was in the higher planes and the next I was like down in the bowels of the lower planes, and how does this gift work and how do I steer it and where's the road map and all of that. So when I was 19 years old, I was at school at Florida State University, and I lived in Atlanta, so, I was away from home and living there. And this group of masters appeared to me called the Vairagi. And the Vairagi comes from the Sanskrit word virag, which means detachment. So these are masters that have detached from things like getting rich, getting married, having the big house, having lots of material possessions, ambition and politics and all the crazy things that we get swept up in. And their intention is to basically chart these inner planes. And they're very good at it. And they had a roadmap. And they also had techniques called soul travel, which is an ability that each and every one of us have the capacity for, to learn how to shift our attention, our soul's attention, beyond the physical world and to begin to travel into these higher realms, and as a result, begin to encounter masters, begin to encounter spiritual teachers or angelic beings who can instruct us. And I was like, hot diggity dog, this is the path for me, because I don't have to believe something and then wait until I die to find out if it's true. I could actually have a direct experience for myself, and I could begin to study with these masters and teachers on the inner levels. And that's exactly what happened. It took me about a year and a half of meditating before I saw, they call it the light and the sound. I had always heard the sound current, which is the underlying vibration that forms the template, of matter. And of course, physicists now call these phonons, the sound, that turn into photons, the light, that then transforms into matter. So we now know in physics that they've discovered that these things that the masters and the mystics have been telling us for centuries, it is actually true. They've just labeled them with different names. So for many years, my focus was very much, I graduated from school, came back to Atlanta, became a commercial advertising photographer, worked with companies like Macy's and Coke and UPS and IBM, and that was my straight Clark Kent life. And I think most of us have a straight Clark Kent life. But my Supergirl life, or my inner life, was really about trying to develop myself spiritually. And I had always been clairvoyant. I had seen past lives around people, future events, present events. Sometimes I felt like I could hear the leaves talking in the trees, or the telepathy of images with animals. And so I'd always had that, but this spiritual practice helped me to begin to control it. And it was probably like 11 years later, when I was about 30 years old, when I was in Stonehenge. I was in England. I've been to England 30 or 40 times, but this was my very first time, And I had a very powerful experience where I was engaged at that point to a wonderful British man, and his parents took me to Stonehenge on a blustery Tuesday, and, it was, 12, 15 people were there, not a lot of people. And I was sitting with my back to one of the stones meditating, and everything got very quiet, and I opened my eyes, and there were stones standing that were not standing before. All the visitors had gone. The visitor center had vanished. The paved road had become a dirt road. And there was an angel standing about 30 feet away from me. And he had his finger to his lips, and like it's a secret. And I was, as you can imagine, floored. And very deliberately, he moved his finger and his hand in this wide sweep. And I was like, what? And I broke contact with the rock. And when I did, everything went back the way it had been. And, of course, I got up and went over to the rock and was like, are you still there? Where are you? What did that mean? And so I thought it was maybe, there was some secret or something, don't tell. But what actually had happened is he had unsealed the Akashic records for me. And this, of course, are the soul records of everyone who lives on this planet, the history of this planet. And, shortly after that, I was with my fiancé, and we were literally at a couple's house, and their daughters were there, and they were little children, like, 6 and 8 and 9, and I could see their past lives, and I could see, one of them had been a violinist, and the others had been a dancer, and suddenly one of them runs upstairs and gets her violin, and I was flooded with information, and I found after that I could basically access the soul records of anybody that I met at will. And of course, you don't do it from your chatty little beta brain consciousness. I'm like everybody else in beta. But I learned how to shift my consciousness down to alpha into deep levels of theta and delta. And I've been put on a lot of brainwave machines, and the scientists are always like, "Oh my God, you're like deep in theta and delta, and you're still able to function." And that's, of course, where the information lies. And it's the ability, really, I believe, that each one of us has that capacity. But it's just like any muscle. You must practice. Just like if you want to be a tennis player, you actually have to go out and spend years hitting the ball to get the muscles, the strength, the coordination to do it. So it's definitely, I think, a potential that's dormant within each one of us. But it depends, of course, on where our focus is. And so my focus was very much on learning this. And as you know, I wound up going on to have, when I was 27, I was contacted by the Priestesses of Isis.
Yes.
I had no idea who that group was. It was like, I was already working with the Viragi and then the Great White Brotherhood, but the Priestesses of Isis are another chapter of that. And, of course, they were in ancient Egypt. And there are other chapters, like the Order of the Lavender Robe. That's very much, the Order of the Golden Robe. That's one overseen by a master called Lantis, who's very much about, he was a master from Atlantis that had to do with healing. So the Order of the Violet Flame, that one's overseen by Saint Germain. All these are various chapters of the Great White Brotherhood.
So we're about to go right into a commercial break, but I am so fascinated by all these orders that you've studied and that you have the ability to retain this information and translate it like a holy scribe to humanity. This is Athena StarSeed. I'm the host of a show called Heaven on Earth, and we're on CRN Talk Radio in 11 million homes. If you like the show, please share it. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. Thanks.
You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com, 310-873-4422.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? News flash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante to see memorabilia of movie stars and theatrical magic right in downtown Fullerton, California. The Art of the Great Masters in an Italian town square complete with storefronts of old, Italian butchers and cheesemongers, fruit and wine vendors, seamstresses showing their wares, the romance of Romeo and Juliet. Find our mystical Room of the Moon, and don't forget King Kong, Dracula, Frankenstein, and who knows what awaits you in the wine cellar. Enjoy the great food. We hand stuff our pastas, roll each and every tortellini, bake our own bread, and make all of our sauces fresh from our private stock of Sicilian family recipes. Pasta to seafood, chicken to award-winning pizzas, tiramisu flown in from Rome. If you can't find something on our menu to tempt you, you don't like Italian food. Try our Sunday brunch, all you can eat, just $21.95. And Angelo's and Vinci's has been named the best Italian restaurant in Orange County 2 years in a row, and our owner has been named Restaurateur of the Year. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 714-879-4022 or angelosandvinci's.com.
Athena StarSeed, and this is a show called Heaven on Earth. This is a portal of possibilities where we can usher in our own heaven. You know, the masters say, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added onto you. I have an incredible guest in studio. She's a scribe, she's a mystic, she's an oracle, she's a clairvoyant, she's an intuitive. She has been trained on the inner and the outer and been blessed with all of these ancient, mysterious happenings that actually are going to help us contextualize the new masculine and feminine archetypes of where our earth is going. So Tricia McCannon, and I have this book here. I want to recommend everybody go out and get it. It's The Return of the Divine Sophia, Healing the Earth Through the Lost Wisdom Teachings of Jesus, Isis, and Mary Magdalene. And you were telling us about the special secret orders of the White Brotherhood and all their names before the commercial break. So I want to let you just pick up where you were last.
Yes. Well, first off, thank you for even, having your wonderful show, Athena, and really trying to bring this knowledge out at this incredibly critical period of time. Because the mystery schools understood that knowledge is power. And in fact, just to give you an example of that, there were 3 levels to the mystery schools, the great mystery schools that taught this wisdom, pretty much all over. Whether it was the Essenes or the Therapeutae in Egypt or the Druids, the first order was always the healers. Like in the Druids, they were called the Ovids. So, if you can imagine Druid wisdom, that was an herbal tree culture, Britain and France, and, beautiful nature there, very rich. And the second level were the historians and the teachers, and those were called the Druids. And the Druid culture, for example, was totally an oral culture. You had to learn over 10,000 songs, stories, and tales that brought history and knowledge forward. And then the third level were the actual full-on Druids. So the first level, they wore green for the healers. The second level, they wore blue for the teachers and historians. And the third level, they wore white for purity. And of course, the word druid, for example, this is just one of the many chapters, comes from the word druor, D-R-U, or D-U-R, that has to do with the tree. And, of course, that's connected with the knowledge of the tree of life, which you find in every single culture of the world, from Persian, Indian, Christian, Jewish, Celtic, Mayan, Native American, every single culture. But as you said, I have 4 books, and the first one, Dialogues with the Angels, really kind of recounts some of the story and a lot more that I was sharing before. It starts off with the divas and the fairies, and then the masters, and then these angels that come and begin to teach me, and the master's teachings, and so forth. And the whole last third of the book is when my guides finally come in, and I begin to dialogue with them. And, of course, I'm probing and questioning and challenging and doubting and, all the things that we humans do. But, of course, the vibration of those beings was so powerful that, to be honest, when they would come in, I would find myself on my knees just in tears, because they always just bathe us, no matter what our imperfections or flaws, in unconditional love. And it was just very life-transforming. So, it gave me many years of dialogues before I ever went out to begin to teach and speak or write books or anything, because I really wasn't doing it for anyone else. I was doing it for me. And there were essential things I had to heal in me about self-worth, about, fear of success, fear of failure, things that we all deal with. And in the presence of so much unconditional love, on one hand, you feel a part of the entire cosmos, and on the other, you realize that you're about the size of a piece of rice,
If
because,
that.
Yeah, it's very humbling, extremely humbling. Anyway, that book, I always tell people, read that book first, because it's fun. People literally tell me they can blast through it in a day or two, and they call in sick to work the next day so they can stay home and finish it. And, it's a story, but it's a true story where you learn a lot of amazing things about the multidimensional nature of reality. And, then I was working on a second book, and actually this book was really very much about the Egyptian mysteries and the priestesses of Isis and so forth. But I happen to love Jesus, and, I, like a lot of us, I was raised Judeo-Christian. My mom was Methodist. My dad was Baptist. We grew up Episcopalian, although we went to all these different churches, Presbyterian, and we tried them all out. But we landed on this wonderful little Episcopalian parish, which I always call it Catholic Light, because it's got all the beauty.
We have to go to another commercial break. I'm so sorry, but I also was raised Catholic, and there is a lot of beauty and light in that gives you the divine Mary energy. And so we are on CRN Talk Radio. We go into 11 million homes, and I love bringing this type of consciousness to the world. This is a show called Heaven on Earth. I'm Athena StarSeed, and I have Tricia McCannon in studio. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. Blessings.
When you really want Italian food, you have got to get to Colombo's. Colombo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. What happened to summer? You turn around and it's gone. So what do? Solution. Either stop turning around or head on over to Colombo's and enjoy the most delicious steaks imaginable. Seafood that brings awe and wonderment to your happy little taste buds. Colombo family Italian recipes so special they're kept under lock and key at an undisclosed and secure location. Jazz every night and the world's greatest meatballs. Need I say more? Oh, but I will. Enjoy the summer and head on over to Colombo's Italian Steakhouse. Good Time Central. Colombo's, because it really is that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Colombo's. Mangia.
Hello, friends. This is Mike Gary, co-host of The Lounge with Robert Conrad. Join Robert Conrad for a special live broadcast of The Lounge Thursday, November 1st at 4 p.m. This will be held at Angelo and Vinci's Restaurante in Fullerton, California. This is a once-in-a-lifetime fan event with Robert Conrad. For more information, go to crntalk.com/Conrad event. That's crntalk.com/Conrad event.
can't wait to see you all on November 1st.
The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour. 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day. 10 an hour. 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Destination, South Point. 11 great restaurants, bingo, bowling, movies, race books, sports books, spa, live entertainment, oversized rooms, and the rates unbeatable. The South Point Las Vegas. Book now. Online at southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. At the South Point Las Vegas, you're always a winner.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Supreme grace, light rain down through me. Supreme grace, light rain down through me.
Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and this is a show called Heaven on Earth, and we are on CRN Talk Radio going into 11 million homes, creating a portal of possibility for the new way that we as humans go from Homo sapien to Homo angelic or Homo illuminescence. I have an incredible guest, Tricia McCannon, on the line, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about the mystery schools. And she was talking about, coming up with certain religious backgrounds. And I wanted to let her know that we have a 17-minute segment now, so you can go ahead and fully express yourself. The first 2 segments were a little shorter, but continue what you were saying. Thank you.
Well, I was talking about how much I really loved, actually, the Episcopalian Church, because, it had all the, as I said, it's Catholic light. It's got the incense and the beautiful ceremonies and the rituals and the beautiful, frescoes on the walls and the gorgeous stained glass windows and the genuflexing and the kneeling and the praying and the interaction between the people. But, it doesn't have the guilt. That was, really important to me because when we went to the Baptist church, at least the one we went to, it was definitely hellfire, brimstone, and damnation. And that was really confusing to me. I couldn't figure out how the God that Jesus talked about, which was a God of unconditional love and forgiveness and unity, met up with the God that was portrayed in the Old Testament. The God in the Old Testament, Jehovah or Yahweh, seemed to me to be, he would say, go into this village or go into the land of Cana and kill every man, woman, chicken, pig, and goat and rape all the virgins. And that just didn't seem like it was the same being. And, of course, later, as I, began to try to figure out how all this stuff fit together, I was able to go back in history, and I do this actually in the Return of the Divine Sophia book and also in the book about the lost years of Jesus, where, he was literally for 30 years, he was in training, or at least, from the time he was, let's just say he studied with the Therapeutae when he was young in Egypt. Then he went back with the Essenes from the time of 8 to about 13 after his bar mitzvah. Then he was with the Druids for a couple of years in England, Britain. And then he, Joseph of Arimathea, his uncle, had the ship so he could transport him. So then he wound up going to India and studied with the Hindus. And then, of course, he began to teach his own thing around the age of 19 or 20. And immediately, there are 3,000, 5,000 followers, because at that time in India, there was such a strong caste society that, you had the Brahmins who had traditionally had the wisdom passed down through their families, that had kind of control of the Vedas and the Upanishads and some of the very beautiful teachings from that tradition. But they were very, protective, and they didn't let people find out about a lot of the teachings because they wanted to maintain their positions of power. And we see the same thing happening, of course, with the Pharisees and the Sadducees over in Judea. Right. But you had the military group, you had the political group, the politics, the nobility, you had the merchants, you had the farmers, you had and eventually the peasants and the untouchables. And the untouchables and peasants and farmers were never allowed to hear any spiritual scripture. So of course, how could they spiritually evolve? So they continued their reincarnational patterns, never moving up the ladder. Oh. And so Jesus, of course, taught everybody. He was very democratic, and within a few months, he had, like I said, 5,000 followers, and the powers that be felt threatened. So I actually found two stories. One, that the Magi appeared to him and warned him, and the other that the peasants and the farmers came to warn him that there were assassins being sent to kill him. Right. And he fled at that time to Rajagira, which was one of the places where the Buddha was enlightened. Oh. And there was a huge Buddhist community there, and he lived there for 6 years. He learned Pali, P-A-L-I, that was the language, and he was accepted by the Buddhists as the second Buddha that the first Buddha had predicted would come some 500 years later.
Oh, wow.
And I document all of this. I mean, the book on Jesus has 100 pages of back matter, 1,200 footnotes. It took me 3 years to write it. I had to remortgage my house twice because I was literally in the cave and could not come out of the cave. And
I'm getting that book. I'm getting that book today. That should be in the mail today, right?
Yeah. The one that I think that you ordered was Return of the Divine Sophia. I sent that one out to you. Whatever you ordered, I sent out to you earlier this week.
Yeah.
So when I say I never intended to write a book about Jesus, let me put some context to this. My older sister is a fundamentalist Christian married to a fundamentalist preacher. And my family is very traditional. I'm here in the Bible Belt in the Deep South. And there's a very strong metaphysical community here now. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, not so much. And so I never intended to write a book on Jesus, but this is one of the reasons why, I had always had that connection with him in my heart, but I felt like that in the way that it was presented in the churches, that there was some disconnect. So I collected all these hidden documents, all these hidden books from India, from other countries that, chronicled his passage. And also even after the crucifixion, there's an incredible book I got when I was 19 from Virginia Beach at the Edgar Cayce Society.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And it was called He Walked the Americas, and it was literally about his going to the Hawaiian Islands, believe it or not, then going to South America, Central America, North America. Those stories are amazing. Like in North America, they would say 2 wolves walked at his side. In
goosebumps
South
right now.
America, they were sacrificing a child, a village was at some point. He came in and scolded them and healed the child, and then they're like, well, that's fine, but what are we going to do about that man-eating tiger that's in the jungle? And he called the tiger out, and the tiger rolled over on his back and, exposed his belly, and, Jesus said, go and eat no more people, and the tiger got up and, went away okay, I'm not going to eat any more people.
That's
And
amazing.
So, I mean, there's amazing stories. So anyway, I had collected these my whole life because I needed, for me, to figure out what had happened, that the patriarchal version of the Old Testament with a punishing, wrathful, out of balance God got married to the God that Jesus was talking about, which was a totally different being, which in my view is the real divine presence of infinite love that connects and unifies and has created all things.
I want you to talk about the Christ consciousness for the feminine and the Christ consciousness of the masculine with the turning of the ages, when you were talking about going from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, where the divine masculine and feminine come together. Can you talk a little bit about the anointed Christed females?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question, and there's so much to say about it. What happened when I wrote the book on Jesus was I wasn't planning. I'm going to address your question in just a second. I didn't intend to write a book on Jesus. I was writing a book about the mysteries and the sacred feminine, and in order to bring this piece you just asked about forward. But what happened was I had put 3 little chapters in that book on Jesus because I thought Jesus was important. And then before I knew it, my gosh, I had 200 pages inside of what was now a voluminous 650-page book, like it was having babies, And I realized, oh my God, my publisher is not going to be happy. Too long. What should I do? And I decided, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take out those 200 pages on Jesus. That'll just solve my space problem. Well, I had just decided that, and it was right after Christmas, that week where it's all very quiet and everyone's, tryptophaned out on turkey and they're all broke. My birthday is the day after Christmas, so I know that time very well. And it's a great time to go inside and ask yourself where you are in your life and what you want to create in the next year. So I was laying on my office floor, and I had my hand over my eyes, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do, just take out that section. And I became aware of this incredible light pouring down on me. And I moved my arm, and Jesus was literally standing in my office, all in golden, in his light body. And without any preamble, he said to me, telepathically, I want you to write a book about my lost years and secret teachings. There has been enough war and bloodshed in my name.
Yes.
And I'll just tell you, Athena, it was like an arrow just pierced my heart. It was so powerful. And I mean, when I could even, catch my breath and have a thought in my head, my first thought was so, human. And I said, well, can I finish this other book first? Because I'm running out of money, And he smiled and he waved his hand. He said, don't worry, I'll open every door. It'll just take a moment. And of course, it took 3 years, but I guess in the mind of God, 3 years is not even a blink of an eye. And so during that time, like as I said, I've been on the road for 6 months of the year for years, speaking in Europe, in America, at all conferences and expos. I could barely get out of my house. It was like the finger was on me to sit in the chair and to write the book. And I had all these miracles happen. I had books materialize on my bookcase. I had people I didn't know show up at my door with hidden documents that said, we were told to come here and bring you these documents. These are documents brought by Joseph of Arimathea to Britain in 37 A.D. after the crucifixion, that had been hidden and protected by the priest of Glastonbury, or Avalon as it was known at the time, for like 2,000 years, and they had just come public. They had just been published. And of course they had accounts of Joseph and Jesus, also Joseph of Arimathea and Jesus and Mary in Britain. So what happened was, in that book, I had to pull 200 pages out about his secret teachings because there wasn't enough room, although there are secret teachings in that book, as well as, the great spiritual mystery schools and the masters and the Great White Brotherhood and, all the places that he went, what they taught and how it's reflected in his teachings. But what happened then was my question became, could I combine his teachings in the same book where I talked about the sacred feminine. And, of course, that's exactly how the book Return of the Divine Sophia was born.
Right.
Because I have about 5 chapters of his secret teachings, and not only his openly talking about reincarnation as the mechanism through which the soul learns through time, not only the importance of being kind to animals. So many of us are unaware that our culture is so cruel in the food industry to our animals. But also these huge teachings about the Divine Father and Mother that he called the Abba, Father, and the Amma, Father, Mother, God. That's what he called God, was the Abba, Amma, or Amma, Abba, God. And so, of course, it got changed in the patriarchy to Father God, but his original terms were Mother, Father, God.
Yes.
And he also talks openly about the divine daughter and son that periodically come to earth, the male and the female Christ. And he says, even as I and Mary Magdalene have come to earth. And so the Gnostics believed that Mary Magdalene was the incarnation of the divine feminine Christ.
Wow.
And she went on after the crucifixion to be the major teacher in the inner spheres of early Christianity. There were conclaves that were held about every 3 years on the Isle of Cyprus, where there was an estate owned by Joseph of Arimathea. And Christians from all around would come, and it would be like a month or 3 weeks, where in the morning Mary Magdalene would give a discourse, and in the afternoon people would talk, share, discuss their own revelations, their own insights, their own experiences. And the Gnostics collected over 250 wisdom sayings that she shared that are every bit as profound as the beauty that Jesus shared, although she always gave enormous deference and respect to him at the highest level. And he actually says that he cannot return to this planet until the divine feminine is reinstated in the world.
What?
Yes.
Explain that.
Pardon me?
Explain that. How is she reinstated?
In other words, if we just look at what has happened in history, and this is part of what I chronicle in the Return of the Divine Sophia, is that, about 3,000 years ago, 1000 BC, the Jews honored the Divine Father and Mother. And I talk about the fact that for way back, for thousands of years, God was thought of as the Divine Mother. And as long as that cosmological model was believed or held, there was no war on the planet, and men and women ruled together in a partnership model. Yes. And then, of course, it became, and that was because, of course, they could observe that anything that gave birth was always female. The animals, the birds, the bees.
It makes sense.
Fish, everything that gives birth is female. So, of course,
the womb has womb for everyone.
Yes. And who would have birthed the universe? Well, logically, we can see nature's telling us it's the divine feminine. So then it became the divine mother and father, and that's great too, because there is an incredibly beautiful aspect of the divine father. And these are my guides, and these are the whole last third of my first book, Dialogues with the Angels, is them talking to me. And so I love the divine father, or masculine energy, as well as the divine mother. And then it became the divine father and mother, daughter and son. In other words, the aspects that come down to earth periodically, and that's great. But what happened is the priest of Yahweh rose up around the time of King Solomon and kept trying to get rid of the mother, the daughter, and the son. And it didn't really happen until after they had, Judea had fallen into captivity with Babylon, and they were in captivity for 50 years, and then they came back, and only about...
We have to go to another commercial break. I'm so sorry. Our 17 minutes has flown by. So when we get back, we have 4 minutes to wrap up, and we want to really talk about how we can incorporate our own Christed anointed selves so that we can usher our heaven on earth through giving our gifts and our talents back to the world. This is Athena StarSeed. This is a show called Heaven on Earth, and I have Tricia McCannon on the line talking about the ancient mystery schools. Thank you so much. Stay tuned and share the show if you like it. We'll be right back.
Have you purchased a wine refrigerator or put a wine cellar in your home? Maybe you have a new wine rack. Great news, but what wines will you buy to stock your wine rack? Let me, Michael Horn, help. I'll find the wines for your wine cellar with your taste in mind. We'll determine what varietals, Cabernet, Pinot, Chardonnay, what types of wine, California, French, Italian you like. We'll find you one-of-a-kind wines from all of our friends we interview daily on the What's Cooking show and the What's Cooking on Wine show. On a budget, we'll find you the best affordable wines. Want hard-to-get library wines? We can source those for you, too. And if you need cigars, let L.A. Rams sports legend and iconic actor Fred Dreyer make your selections. Hey, we could even host a wine dinner for you or set up a sports cigar party with Fred. Call me, Michael Horn, at the What's Cooking Today show. Call 818-818-6400. That's 818-818-6400. Let us find the dream wines of your lifetime.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and this is a show called Heaven on Earth, a portal of possibility to usher in a new golden age. And we have a beautiful guest, Tricia McCannon, who is today here with us talking about the ancient mystery schools and how we can be the Christed ones, and that knowledge is power, and that when we know things about ourselves and our history, that we can empower ourselves to change our frequency and our vibration and thereby see a better, brighter world. So we have 4 minutes. I would just like you to just tell us anything that you can that will help us unify our own Christed consciousness.
Okay, so first off, I just want to give out my website, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Absolutely. And please order her books. I've already got 2. One's in the mail and one's right here.
Okay, so yes, it's my name, Tricia, Tricia, that spelling, McCannon, just like it sounds, MC, Mac, and then Cannon, CANNON.com or TriciaMcCannonSpeaks.com. Either one will take you there, and you'll see books, DVDs. I've been teaching a mystery school for 14 years, and finally about 3 years ago, I got my first 12 classes up online, and they're amazing. You can order them one at a time for like $99, or you can order the first 3, the second 3, the third 3, and so forth.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to join the mystery school.
And save money. I mean, I've done it so that it's like $225 for 3 classes, so you save almost $100. And I also want to mention that this past year, I've created this incredible body of work for people who are really visual learners through a company called SacredStoriesMedia.com. And they have an online university called Sacred U, like U for university, not YOU. And I have a an incredible class on the lost years and secret teachings of Jesus. It's like a 10-hour class in like 7 different modules. I have one on Mary Magdalene, the history of the goddess, the divine feminine, the quest for the Holy Grail, the Merovingian bloodline of Jesus and Mary. That's online, and we've just launched one that is on special this weekend. In fact, all 3 of them are on special just for the Labor Day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday through September the 3rd. This one's on the Egyptian mysteries, and, you know, you can literally, if you go on to the Egyptian mysteries, you can use the coupon code for these 3 days called Labor Day, and it'll save you 20% on the Egyptian mysteries, which is all about Thoth and Isis and, you know, who were the gods, the Anunnaki gods of Egypt, you know, world civilizers that brought us the arts and sciences, the Philosopher's Stone, you know, the Hermetics, which is the secret teachings of how they encoded the wisdom into symbols and how you can begin to decode it yourself. So they're amazing classes. They take me about 2 months of, you know, 8-hour days to put together these classes. And once you sign up, you can watch the first module for free in each case, but once you sign up, you can watch them at your own leisure, whether it's in a week or a year. So they're always available to you. So just go to sacredstoriesmedia.com and click on the Sacred You button at the top, and it'll take you to the class.
And where can we, we have 60 seconds, where can we find you next? Are you going to be somewhere on the West Coast?
Yes, the first weekend of October, I'm going to be in Encinitas at the Portal to Ascension Conference. This is a great group. This is their first live conference, and they're amazing speakers that will be there. And then the second week of November, I'll be at the Star Knowledge Conference here in North Georgia.
Wonderful.
So you can go to portaltoascension.com and find out the information about the one in Encinitas the first weekend of October, or you can go to starknowledge.com and find out about the one in November.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
my phone number's on the website, so you guys are very welcome to call me and, you know, just leave a message with your phone number, and I'm happy to get back if you're interested in finding out more. But thank you so much for having me, Athena.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And listen, she does soul readings. You can book an appointment and do a private session with her, and she can look into your Akashic records. But definitely, if you do anything, please get one of these incredible books, Communicating with the Angels or Return to the Divine Sophia, Healing the Earth through the Lost Wisdom Teachings of Jesus, Isis, and Mary Magdalene. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. I really appreciate all the support. If you like the show, please share it. We are on CRN Talk Radio. This is Heaven on Earth with Athena StarSeed and Tricia McCannon. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest. Blessings.